and we can see everything that is inside on a monitor. And these two actually are the inventors of digital image capture. Boyle and Smith, of course, won the Nobel Prize for physics in the year 2019. These are the tools that we have. There is a unique problem in the nose. It's got a huge function to warm and air condition the air that we breathe in the few milliseconds from the time you breathe till it reaches. So be it in Leh or be it in the deserts of Rajasthan, ambient temperatures may be low or high, but by the time it reaches the lung, it is warmed and conditioned. For this, you require moisture. Moisture is created by goblet cells in the ciliated columnar epithelium, and it produces, you may not believe it, 2 liters of mucus every day, which we do not even think of it. Think of those Pepsi bottles, 1 liter, 2 of them. It gets pushed by the cilia through defined routes, and it has to go into the nasopharynx along these routes. But then there is a problem. There is a choke point, what is called the osteomeatal complex. If for any reason this gets blocked, inflammation or tumor, the entire mucociliary clearance comes to a standstill, and stagnated secretions are the playground for infection, which is what causes chronic sinusitis. They say 14.2% of all Americans have chronic sinusitis. That is the magnitude of the study. And there comes a Viennese surgeon, Heinz Stamberger, who believed that if this choke point can be relieved and widened, the entire mucosa can revert back to normal. Earlier, once there is chronic sinusitis, you remove the dead mucosa, and that's it, leaving them functionless air spaces. And he proved it in animals and went on to do what he called functional endoscopic sinus surgery. Here is a clip. He takes access through the various anatomical obstructions that you have initially, and thereafter he tries to open up the sinus ostium, which are closed, thereby giving a chance for the secretions to flow out and regenerate the mucosa that is there. This was a milestone in rhinology. Well, you get greedy. It's human nature. Rhinologists saw every little nook and cranny of the nose and paranasal sinuses, and they wanted to go beyond. Jules Hardy, a Canadian surgeon, thought that nose could be an access to things beyond, especially the pituitary. It is a very, very innovative thought, but for him, we would not have really done transnasal endoscopic or microscopic pituitary surgery. What you do here is essentially a very simple thing. We give the pathway for the brain to, for the neurosurgeon to operate, and this is how it goes. Sorry. This is how it goes. There are a lot of obstructing areas in between which he has to remove it first. And through that, he actually goes into the sphenoid sinus and finally opens up the sphenoid, hands over to the surgeon before, sorry, this is the wrong video, and gave it access to the pituitary. It also gave an opportunity for us to invade another clinical entity called CSF rhinorrhea, which used to be done by a craniotomic surgery with huge morbidity and less success. The endoscopes provided us also an opportunity to get to the leak specifically. As you can see here, the brain tissue which is dead is removed, and you plug it with fat and cartilage and glue them up all together with a literally 99% success rate, removing the mortality associated with the neurosurgeries that we had earlier. Let's come down to finally the otology. We all know that we have three little bones which move in and out, sending the messages into the inner ear. A problem that surgeons used to face was a clinical condition called otosclerosis. An otosclerosis is where the foot plate gets cemented with bone. It cannot move. There was no way you could breach that for the fear that you might give them a permanent deafness. The solution for this was given by a crazy, I would say, a crazy otologist called Julius Lempert, who in his biography had no chance to work in a decent medical college. So he did his course in a not so great medical college, and he started his practice in New York. He was also the author of Cut Practice, as we call it today, taking a suburban to go to various places, do surgery, take your money, go on to the next station, and so on and so forth. But his immense contribution cannot ever be forgotten. So this is what happens when the foot plate gets cemented with otosclerotic focus. It cannot move. Therefore, you cannot hear. What he did was to make a window into the inner ear without breaching it, and that brought back hearing, and this was called fenestration surgery. This was the starting point of stapes surgery. It went on to a very definitive surgery by someone called John Shea, who made a hole in the foot plate and put a piston. And this was innovation at its best. Well, we also have an issue of congenital deafness, which General Daljit had mentioned. When you are born without hearing, your brain centers for hearing and speech get equally affected. One in the angular gyrus where we hear, the Wernicke's area, and the Broca's area where the speech is generated. And if you don't have it for quite some time, it dies out. If you don't use it, you generally lose it. What was the solution for this was given by another brilliant otologist, William House, who really thought that he can actually bypass the ear, get the electrodes through which the sound processed outside can reach. And this was debated for years till he finally created an implant, what is today called a cochlear implant. And that was an epoch-making first neural processes ever in this world. Well, of course, much later, after him, this is the first implant that he had implanted, much crude compared to the ones that we have now. So we have really grown much there, going from a single channel to multi-channel devices, which has given innumerable children the power of hearing. It is not a very complicated surgery, or rather I would say it is a surgery that is not very difficult. It is an easy surgery to perform badly. You create a hole in the wall of the ear so that it can go into the cochlea, create a fenestra there through which you can actually insert the electrodes array into the ear. Now, what happened after this is something remarkable. Millions of children who had not heard, only thing that they had heard was the sound of silence, began to hear the sound for the first time in their life. This is what the miracle of cochlear implant is. And I'm extremely proud of the AFMC fraternity, the Army Medical Corps fraternity, who runs probably one of the best sponsored cochlear implant program in the world. But for all the children we implant, there are hundreds of thousands of them still awaiting an implant to get back the hearing. It will take us years or a new technology with genetic engineering to resolve this problem. Ultimately, in my analysis, human intelligence has the power to solve problems. Not just solve problems. It can transcend giving an optimized solution and to give you something which far beyond the expectations of what we have done, what we have. In a way, it can create something far superior, alternative to what we have lost. I suppose this evocative video would actually prove my point. Shot in Matunga School for Deaf and Dumb in the 80s, with a group of children who could not speak, who could not hear. They expressed themselves in a way far more astonishing and fulfilling than probably any one of us would have done. Volume, please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for a patient hearing.